Ladies and gentlemen, please stow away your tray table, place your seats in an upright position, and prepare for flight to a higher level of consciousness. This is your captain speaking. Captain Game. Can we get it? Chris, there we go. God expressing his meaning. This is my younger self. We'll be joining the Mile High Club by flying at an exceptionally high altitude. During our flight today, I'll point out 6 lessons inspired from your traveling experience. These lessons highlight both what's kept you from taking this flight to higher consciousness, as well as keys to making this flight a more enjoyable experience. Please bear with me as I anticipate some turbulence. We'll be taking off momentarily, so please make sure your carry-on baggage is stowed securely, either in the overhead compartment or under the seat in front of you. Mobile phones and other electronic devices should be turned off. Are you ready?
Yes.
When you entered the airport, you heard the following announcement. Passengers, please do not leave your baggage unattended. Do not accept any packages or materials from any strangers. Any unattended baggage will be confiscated. Sound familiar?
Yes.
We're told to watch our bags to ensure nothing unwanted or nefarious is added. Yet, the truth is that most of us have accumulated a lot of other people's baggage.
Yeah.
And they've placed it in ours. If you came from painful childhoods or were exposed to abusive experiences, unwanted messages about your self-worth were slipped into your bags without any notice. Later, as you lived life carrying these people's messages and painful tapes and going through important checkpoints, you behaved as if you claimed these items as your own. Of course, we get into trouble if we attempt to pass through security with this stuff in our bags. So, lesson 1, beware of what's not yours in the bags. Along these lines, we arrive at lesson 2. This aspect of the lesson parallels closely to Byron Katie's assertion that there are 3 types of business. Your business, everyone else's business, and God's business. To clarify, God's business consists of all of that stuff that neither you or anybody else has control over. So minding other people's business happens whenever we spend mental energy worrying about what others think or feel and busy ourselves with altering our true nature to accommodate what we imagine these other people want. In short, when you're minding other people's business, who's minding yours? I just love having taught up in When you aren't minding your own business, how can you possibly authentically live your life? Minding your business ensures you're carrying a lighter load. Ladies and gentlemen, I was just informed that we will have to sit here at the gate. The tower is reporting that there are other planes ahead of us that are awaiting their turn for takeoff. I apologize for the inconvenience. Some of you might just miss your connecting flight. You'll receive additional details as they become available. So lesson 3, present moment awareness. The waiting game is painful, just sitting there. We don't like to wait. The mind chatter repeats a story of how it's ruining all the plans you've made and inconveniencing all the people who are waiting for you at the other side. If the waiting has added elements of a crying baby, this can just take you over the edge. Not too long ago, I was flying and had to wait on the tarmac. Across from me was a young woman about college age who was sitting next to a middle-aged man. Because of, my profession, I love to listen to other people suffering. So my ears just couldn't happen but to hone into the story that they were weaving about the baby's crying. They were in the proverbial state of self-suffering, self-imposed suffering because of an unwillingness to accept the present moment as it is. They added unnecessary suffering to the present situation. They labeled something bad when in fact it was simply a baby crying. Likewise, when stranded on the tarmac, this invitation to pull ourselves back into the present moment, this is, after all, the moment that exists. Sure, the mind may say that you should be somewhere else, but you can only be where you are. Likewise, we can tell ourselves a story about how far we should be in our spiritual growth, right? We get to see other people and we're thinking, I'm just not as spiritual as they are. We compare ourselves to others who appear spiritually advanced. The crying child, however, is an important reminder of being in the now moment. That baby knows no other moment. Consequently, it doesn't suffer. It doesn't suffer because it's not telling itself a story about why it should be something other than it is. And the power of the now present moment is likely why Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is made of people like these children. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I just got word that we have been given the okay for takeoff. Flight attendants, please ready the cabin. Passengers, please review the safety instructions on the back of the safety information card, which is in your seat pocket. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. How often do we politely nod to the flight attendant when told to review the safety instructions? Even though it's vital teachings, we don't pay attention because we think we already know the rules. In unity, our 5th principle says that knowing and understanding the laws of life, called the truth, are not enough. A person must live in the truth that he or she knows. In other words, we must reaffirm our convictions to these principles daily. We do this by reading unity materials and materials from other great spiritual masters, by engaging in thoughtful conversations with those who spiritually inspire us. These are our safety instructions. I want to revisit that word, inspire. I love that word, inspiration, and its close literal translation, in spirit. Perhaps you know this. The word inspire comes from the Latin inspirare, to blow breath into, to be filled with the breath of God. Inspiration is very different from motivation. We fly planes to be carried by an external force. This is motivation. How often do you engage in life wanting to be carried by some external force? To be a passive passenger. To be pushed or pulled. Motivation is required when you aren't aligned with your highest values. Or some might say, the will of God. Yet inspiration is about finding the Spirit within and seeing it as your internal source. And continuous inspiration requires continuous realignment with your highest values. Rumi wrote, "Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down the dulcimer. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are 100 ways to kiss the ground." So flying into higher consciousness requires that we examine our values, our inspiration, and move towards that which is meaningful. However, sometimes this requires letting go of what's not working, right? Earlier, I talked about the importance of attending to your own bags and not accepting unwanted items. So not only do you have to be willing to guard your bags against other people's stuff being slipped into them, but you also must be willing to get rid of the stuff that is yours, but that is no longer serving you. Even when getting rid of it is embarrassing to admit and let go. So recall the barf bag? Barf, is that too much for church? Do you prefer emesis receptacle? It too is a metaphor. A reminder to get rid of what's no longer serving you. Yeah, it may feel embarrassing, Charlotte. It may feel embarrassing. Yeah, people might notice. Heck, they may even have their own thoughts about it. Perhaps it might remind them, too, that they have some stuff to get rid of. Despite the embarrassment, you know that deep down, that when you get rid of the stuff that is no longer serving you, a little bit of heaven awaits. Heaven's just around the corner. It takes a willingness to bear with that which is uncomfortable, distressing, and still respond to the present moment with intention. To literally lean into the uncomfortable spots. Often it's only during humbling experiences that we are able to transcend our egos and experience our true nature. So we are nearing the final leg of our flight today. What you may not realize is that there's also an important lesson to be learned in the cockpit that you can use to transcend the difficulty within relationships. Who has heard of Viktor Frankl, famous psychiatrist, concentration camp survivor. He had once spoke to an audience in which he said, I started taking flying lessons recently. Do you know that what my instructor told me? That if you start here and wish to get here, say east, heading for this, you have a crosswind, you will drift, you will actually land here. So you have to do what pilots call crabbing. You have to head north. In order to get to the place that you ultimately want to go, you have to aim high, as if you're headed in this direction. If you're headed here, above this airfield, then you will actually land where you want to go. If you're headed here, you'll land here. But of course, if you head here, you'll land there. Lesson 6, aim high. This also is true for our fellow human. I would say if we take people as they are, we make them worse. But if we overestimate them, if we are willing to be idealists and overrating them, and looking at them that high, you know what happens? You promote them to be what they really are. To reiterate this point, let's draw upon another believer of unity principles, Maya Angelou. She wrote a poem that amplifies our ability to rise and take flight. When you attend to your own business, get rid of what isn't yours, familiarize yourself with what's important, and stand in your deepest truth about yourself and others. See if you can hear the message, the unity message in Angela's reading of "And Still I Rise."
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides. Just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Do you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard that I laugh. 'Cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but just like life, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it surprise you that I dance? Because I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs. Out of the huts of history's shame, up from the past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I am a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling. I bear in the tide. leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I rise into a daybreak that is miraculously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. So naturally, I rise.
So thank you for flying with me today. Please use caution when opening the overhead bins, as I hope items have shifted during flight.